What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so you get notified of all the latest content as and when it drops. So let's get into this. So a couple of days ago, the weekend on Saturday, we had Leigh Wood, the champion, WBA featherweight champion, versus Josh Warrington from Leeds. So it was Nottingham Forest versus Leeds, a bit of a northern derby of sorts. And yeah, this was a fight that certainly, from my perspective at least, did live up to the hype. It was one where a lot of people were picking LEIGHWOOD to win, as LEIGHWOOD is kind of on the high, he's kind of on the crest of a wave going into this, coming off of his revenge victory over Maurizio Lara. Very convincing win, he did whitewash the guy. But this fight here was a completely different story, very entertaining. It ended up with LEIGHWOOD coming out on top in this fight, but how it got there was a bit of controversy. So let's talk about the fight. So as the fight began, first round, second round, LEIGHWOOD sort of changed his tacks a little bit. Wood decided to begin the fight quite fast, so he was using his boxing skills. He was able to sort of, at points at least, keep the buzzsaw of Josh Warrington at bay, and he was able to score very well with his straight punches in those early two rounds. And for me personally, I think he definitely took the first two. He managed to outbox Warrington, used switching to southpaw, so he switched his stance to the left-handed stance for certain periods in those early two rounds, and managed to take them for me. Warrington was always in the round, he was always in the fight. You know, it was like a buzzsaw, buzzing in and out, trying to land his shots. But at the end of the day, I think for those first two, LEIGHWOOD was in control. LEIGHWOOD sort of took those two and managed to land a cleaner, more effective shots in those rounds. But what happened then was that I would say Josh Warrington then sort of took over, and Josh Warrington injected more and more pace into the fight, because that's one thing about Warrington that's always he's always got going for him, is that pace. Very active fighter. He's a very busy fighter. You know, is a type of fighter that, you know, can throw 100 punches in a round. So he started to swarm all over LEIGHWOOD, and while LEIGHWOOD would have his while Wood did have his moments, you know, Josh Warrington began to sort of outland him. There are periods over the next couple of rounds where Josh Warrington was able to hurt LEIGHWOOD. LEIGHWOOD was always there, always had his consciousness about him, always had his wits about him. But because of the fact that LEIGHWOOD, one of his major issues when he fights is that he does tend to stand bolt upright in the ring, and in boxing that's always a dangerous thing. You that's one thing that you never want to do. You never want to be standing there with your sort of chin up in the air, or with you don't want to be upright. Ideally, you want to sort of be in a crouch. You want to tuck your chin in, and you want to make yourself a difficult target to hit, especially to the head. So, but LEIGHWOOD, he still does this thing where he boxes and he kind of fights tall, and because of the speed and the work rate of Josh Warrington was able to clip him quite a lot. You know, good, powerful hooks, and it's only that Warrington's not much of a puncher, so he did manage to buzz LEIGHWOOD momentarily, but you know, never enough to sort of put him down or to hurt him that bad. But he was doing more than enough to win the rounds. And for me, up until the finish, I had Josh Warrington sort of sweeping those next four rounds, you know, sort of into the sixth. So for me, Warrington was, you know, was like the buzzsaw, just non-stop, bam, in and out, landing punches, you know, having his way with LEIGHWOOD, because I think for me, Josh Warrington had the edge in his speed, you know, speed of hand and speed of foot. So he was able to get in and out, do his damage, you know, throwing more, landing more he was having his way with Leigh over the next 4 rounds. But again, Leigh pulled it out of the bag in the very next round. Something that he just seems to be, that seems to be almost like a trademark of his. We saw that in the Mick Conlan fight where he was well behind against Mick Conlan, and he'd even been down and been hurt in the third round, but he came and turned it around in the 12th round on that occasion. In this occasion, he didn't have to wait so long, just until halfway through the fight. And credit to Leigh. This is why, one of the reasons why I really rate the guy, because he was definitely behind in his fight. I think he was well behind on the scorecards. 4 rounds to 2 in Josh Warrington's favor, so he's well behind, down on the scorecards. But again, he doesn't give up, and he pulled it out of the bag. I think it was a right hook that started everything, and he got Warrington hurt with that hook, and he just kept wailing away. But he done it in to his credit, he done it in a way where it wasn't too crazy. He even sort of was stood back at a distance where he could really let his hands go and get full power into the shots, and just swung away at Warrington with some good shots. And Warrington goes down, and for all intents and purposes, Warrington looked like he was completely out of it. To Warrington's credit, as a tough guy, as a warrior, Warrington did rise to his feet. But as he rose to his feet, this is where the controversy comes in. Rises to his feet, and then he kind of sees the referee, and he kind of wobbles. He's on very unsteady legs, wobbles over to his corner, and then he's got his arms on the ropes, and he's, as far as he's concerned, the round's finished. And the controversial thing here is that there's kind of two schools of thought, because after he done that, wobbles to his corner, and then he turns around to the referee. I think it was at the count of 8. That's what Warrington said, and I think that is correct. So he wobbles over, and he's already gone. He's leaning on the rope, so he's had a bit of time. Turns around, and then the referee waves it off. Now, there's two ways of looking at this thing, really. And one way is the initial way that I saw it, just reactionary in the moment. The way I saw it was, basically, he was hurt, he was wobbled. He would probably go on to get knocked out, because Leigh is a good finisher, etc., etc. He's a powerful puncher. He will just hurt him again momentarily, and Warrington will get knocked out cold. That was what my thought process was, just looking at how wobbly he was and how hurt he was, unless he could pull a miracle out of the bag. But then there's the other school of thought, which is a lot of keen observers noticed, some other YouTubers and stuff, and Warrington himself noticed that their point is that, well, as a matter of fact, the bell actually rung. And that is something that I didn't see at the time. So it is kind of a controversial stoppage in a way, because as much as from my train of thought, he's hurt, he's wobbled, he's only going to go get knocked out. What I didn't realize is that the bell actually rung at the time. So because the bell rung, so the argument goes from Warrington, his team, other guys that are pundits and know about boxing, they're saying, well, look, the bell rung, so he was up at 8, he was looking at the referee, his glove should have been cleaned off, should have been sent back to the corner for the minute's rest and go through. And that, to me, it's not a hill I'll die on. If that is your position, I don't really have a problem with it. So it's kind of two opinions on this, really, because my opinion initially was that he looks hurt, he looks like he's finished. But had I known that, oh, the bell's actually rung, my opinion might have been a little bit different. So, yeah, it's a controversial stoppage. There's no doubt that Warrington was hurt, he was damaged. He, in my view at least, he probably would have been knocked out in the next round, even if he did have that rest. But in a sense, you could say that, look, he deserved the opportunity to go into the next round. You got that school of thought. And then you got the other one, which is, well, he was finished anyway, so the referee did the right thing. So two schools of thought. It is a bit controversial. Warrington does feel like he was robbed. I don't agree with that school of thought, because he was hurt. And, you could also say the fact that he turned his back to the referee and walked away, and then, turned back after that. That wasn't the greatest sign. The fact that he walked away, I think that's, obviously not a great thing. But yeah, Warrington wants a rematch. There is no rematch clause in it. In my opinion now, well, Leigh struggled at the weight that, so he said that's his last fight at 126. So I suppose if there is a rematch, then it would have to happen at 130. But then you've also got a man called Joe Cordina, another world champion, who is at super featherweight. So I think Leigh is looking towards him to fight Joe Cordina next. As for what Warrington does, if I was him, I'd be trying to campaign for the rematch, and Leigh might honor that. Maybe just offer to go to the next weight division up at super feather. Maybe that's what he has to do. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. Fantastic come from behind victory by Leigh. Once again, he proved himself as world class in there. And let me know what you thought about the fight. What did you think about the stoppage in the comment section below? And until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out.